A family curse. I live in Northern Ireland, just outside Carrickfergus, in a renovated mill that's been in our family since my great-grandfather's time. It's safe to say that I've had an easy life. He was very wealthy, and this was passed on and added to, as well as the house, which was changed from the mill, thanks to my grandfather. Lots of unexplained things have happened in that place, and from my great-grandfather's journals that he kept, I think it's due to him. After he went away to England, he came back to the mill, and things started occurring, and I quote from his journal, things like faces in the darkness and noises in the night. He unfortunately, towards the end of his life, developed dementia, and his last entry read simply, "I'm so sorry." My grandfather inherited the place, and things continued for him. He would often tell me of things he saw and heard when I was a kid, and they used to scare the hell out of me. But as I got older, I figured out they were just stories to scare me, 'cause he kinda had a wicked humor. He's now in a care home, and as my mother never really wanted the house, I decided I would take it as it's worth a lot. I have a wife and a daughter, and it's part of my family's heritage. I'm rather sentimental like that. As soon as we spent the night, weird things started occurring. They started off small, a few bangs, things went missing, etc. I put it down to it being an old house and my own carelessness. But then, the real hauntings began. Plates were smashed, doors and cupboards opened by themselves. One night, as I was walking to the study, I saw a shadow against the wall. Thinking it was mine, I thought nothing of it until I realized there was no light behind me, and at that moment, it moved across the wall and out of sight. That truly started to frighten me. Then, as I came home one day, I heard the sound of quick footsteps, a giggle, and the study door slammed shut. We heard voices whisper in our ears when on the computers or watching television, saying things like, "I'm here," and "not yet." Worse is this is affecting my family. My daughter made 2 new imaginary friends who tell her to go into the knife drawer and tell her to draw strange things. Usually it's simple things like the moon, etc. But once she drew a pair of red eyes in darkness. So after that, I took away her books and coloring pencils. My wife hears noises, voices, see things outside our windows, and she is becoming very distraught. These things happen regularly, maybe once every 2 nights, and at its worst, every night. Many of you may read this and just dismiss it, but for me, this is a real thing. I lived through this, and I'm at my wit's end. I don't want to sell the house, but it's getting close to that point. Can anyone please tell me if there's anything I can do to stop this curse and these events? Thanks for listening to this rant. Family history. To sum up, my family has a history of clairvoyant experiences. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother had it, my grandmother had it, my mother had it, and now my sister and I believe we may have it. My sister and I are practical people. We grew up hearing our mother's stories, but always tended to roll our eyes. The first time I met your father, our mutual friends introduced us. The moment I saw him, I heard a little voice whisper in my ear, "This is the man you are going to marry." I had to turn because I thought someone was right there, but no one was there. My parents have been married for 30 years now. My great-grandmother had a tingling sensation in her arm when she was going to know something. My sister gets this tingling sensation Her premonitions seem to be mostly injury related. She will get feelings when someone is about to get hurt. Example, one day she woke up and thought, "What is wrong with Dad's hand?" Later that week, he slammed his finger in a machine and the nail turned black and eventually fell off. Another time, we were leaving the movie theater minus my brother. She thought if he were with us, he would have been okay. When we got home, we find the basement had been flooded in the rain. He slipped and fell on the cement floor and injured his foot. Mine seem to be mostly dreams. Don't get me wrong, they don't happen often. I normally dream extremely extravagantly. If we could record my dreams, I would turn them into movies and probably make a fortune. Mostly I have dreams of adventures or mysteries or something. Sometimes though, I will get the out-of-place dream that would come true. Example, in high school, I would dream of the projects that our teachers would assign us weeks before they would assign them. This had its advantages because I could plan ahead for them and get good grades. I know that sounds silly, and it was, but it was kind of fun too. My mother always told me that I should tune into my abilities so I could make more use of them. I never really knew what that meant anyway, and didn't know how I could do such a thing. I thought it was all fun or coincidental or something. I've always been a realist and figured there was a rational explanation for everything. Sometimes there were other dreams that would come true regarding friends or people I'd meet. I hadn't had a psychic dream since high school. Now, I'm 27. Last week, I had a very, very powerful dream. I had a dream where both my grandmothers, who had both died, introduced me to my daughter, whom I don't have. It was the child of my boyfriend and myself. She had my face shape and eyes, but my boyfriend's hair and nose. We were incredibly in love and very happy. It was anything but a typical dream for me. I had been the happiest I'd ever been in my life, and the feeling of overwhelming love and happiness I felt was out of this world. I had never had a dream like that before. I don't usually have dreams and emotion unless I dream of someone ticking me off. I certainly was not thinking of having kids. We weren't even married yet. My biggest thought are ridding myself of my credit card debts and then traveling to an island for a well-needed vacation. It left me shaken for over a day. It was incredibly real. There was no elaborate scenery, just a cloudy fog. I never dream of children or of my grandparents. I really, really felt it was more than just a dream. I told it to my sister, and like I said, we're skeptical, but don't deny that extraordinary things are possible. I guess I won't ever really know unless my boyfriend and I have a child, and she fits that description. I guess if anything, I am interested in knowing if what my mother told me years ago was something right. Should I try to tune into something more than the redundant day-to-day? Is there even a way to do that? Though I'm skeptical, I'm sure that such things are possible, and really would love to hear what some of you have to say. I do believe that people on Earth have such gifts. I also believe some people just want attention and make it up. The latter of the two need not reply. My family seems to attract the weirdest and the scariest things to ourselves. Okay, writing this on an iPad, and for some reason, the keyboard is lagging, so sorry if the writing quality is poor. My family has always attracted the weird stuff. from animals to seeing people you don't know in mirrors. And some of them have been scary enough where I just want to crawl into my bed covers, curl up, and never leave. Starting off with a not as creepy one. One day when I was 15, I was sitting on the couch, resting my eyes from a long day at school. I start to feel someone scratch my head. I love getting head scratches or head pets. My mom thinks I'm part animal. I also love curling up and falling asleep in the sunbeams. And then after a minute or two of head scratching, it suddenly stops. It felt fantastic, and the person had the right level nails for it. So I was slightly miffed when they stopped. So I asked out loud with my eyes closed, why did they stop? And my mom asked from the other side of the room, stop what? After she asked that, I jerked wide awake, realizing that the chair I was in the corner, and the way my head was being scratched, the person would have been directly above me with the wall in the way. So I booked my ass out of that house and didn't return for an hour until I had calmed down enough to think logically about it. Sadly, no more ghostly head scratches since then. Another one is my cat, who refused to play with mice or eat them, and he ate everything. But eventually, we found in the basement 2 very neat piles of mice fur, and the mice themselves. Our cat would freak out if we tried to touch the piles, but not freak out like, this is my territory, assholes. This was a concern for everyone's safety kind of freak out. We eventually left the basement, figured we'd hired someone to help us deal with our Dahmer of the mice cat. But when we went back with the guy the next day, both piles were completely gone, nothing left to show that they had ever been there. Even the bloodstains that were on the floor were completely gone. Every now and then this repeats itself, and it's made even scarier by the wall-shaking thumps we hear in the basement. Every now and then. My family has a horrible stream of luck with dealing with other people and each other. And whenever emotions run high or someone was horrible to us, bad things begin to occur. One such thing was when my brother was fighting with each other, and they both drew knives on the other. Well, right when they were about to get back into it, every single light bulb in the apartment complex we lived in burned out at the same time. The electrician who came to see what happened said it was like there was a massive power surge for just a moment. Then it went back to normal. Another such time was when our father was being his crazy self, threatening us again right when he was about to hit my older brother for lipping off to him. He managed to somehow trip and go flying outside the second-story window that was in another room. Another one was when this person was being an absolute horrible bully to me, calling me cliche names such as Fat Boy and Uncle Buck's clone. One day when it went too far and he got physical with me, he was 5 years older than me, I was 11. When he was about to break my arm after kicking my ribs into my spleen, he started to run off yelling something was after him. Later I found out he got injured the day after that when he fell down some stairs in his home and broke his arm and both his legs. Everyone in my family and those that become close to us end up seeing things in mirrors. Sometimes when you're not paying attention, such as when you're combing your hair or brushing your teeth, you will begin to see faces in the corner of the mirror. But if you look directly at them, they are not there. But they are always there, watching you when you walk by, and are trying to live a normal life. If anyone actually likes this, I can post some more stuff later on. Got a lot of examples and stories I can tell, and I just realized I can be sent to the net house for most of this stuff. Anyways, thanks for reading. Newbie Redditor. longtime lurker. Bye. Addition. Wow. I don't think anyone would like my stories, but I guess here's some extra ones. Okay, most people in my family have varying degrees of depression, and some days it's just worse than others. Well, one day after being told I should go die in school, family members being assholes, and just overall bad shit, I snapped. I started to try to kill myself for a whole 2 months. First, I tried to cut myself, but then the knife handle broke. Then when I tried to continue with the blade, it shattered. Apparently there was rust in certain locations that caused it to break with enough force, but always right when I tried to do the deed. Another time, I jumped off of a 3-story building, but when I hit the concrete ground, it felt really soft all of a sudden. But then I felt a really hard impact, like I hit something else before the concrete. Then I tried to hang myself 3 times. The first time the rope broke. The second time, the knot came undone. The third time, right when I was about to do it, something hit the garage I was in very hard, and the beam the rope was attached to came down and completely missed me even though I was underneath it. And these beams were all welded to the damn wall, so I have no idea how this came down without ripping out a chunk of wall as well. When I went outside to see what hit the wall, there was nothing there, no dents along the side, and nothing to show someone had been there. The next 2 times were completely by accident. The first incident was when I was crossing the road and a car ran a red light and ended up hitting me. I was completely fine, only a couple of scrapes, no bruises, nothing broken, and the guy drove off like he robbed a bank, which wasn't helped by the fact that a couple of police cars drove by following the car. The second is when I was riding my bike. I didn't notice the car speeding up behind me and eventually hit me, destroyed my bike. I just rolled over the car and popped up behind it completely fine. Again, only a couple of scrapes. All I can say now is, fuck you, driver, fuck you. My second story is like a haunting. People on my grandfather's side of the family don't like it when people act in ways they don't like, and they're more than willing to correct that behavior with violence. Anyways, I was 7 at the time, and more than a bit of skin came off the upper portion of my arm from a dock accident. Apparently, my grandfather didn't like it that I was crying from the pain, and decided to teach me how a man to be with a studded belt. After 20 minutes of being hit, I finally went numb enough to not feel anything and stop crying. Afterwards, things went bad. When he tried to use the toaster, it started to spark at him. The microwave set food on fire after only being in there for a minute. When he decided to watch the TV, the television imploded. Then the remote he was using started to leak battery acid. Then when he tried to take a shower, apparently the water system got connected to the septic tank and started to spew shit at him. Later, when he was chopping wood for a fire, the head of the axe came off and destroyed his taillight. Later, his engine caught on fire for no reason. It was a cold night and the car was off. Then when he used lighter fluid to start a fire before he could even set a fire or even light a match, fire started to crawl up the stream of lighter fluid, and he threw the can before it blew up. Later that night, when everyone was asleep and downstairs, the TV that was upstairs, it takes 3 people to move this damn monstrosity, fell over the balcony from the 2nd floor, from the corner of the room it was in. Nowhere near the balcony it was. Then, the giant window that made up a wall started spiderwebbing and just shattered on the spot. Some more stuff happened, but this story is getting a bit long, so I'll end it. This stuff eventually stopped happening about a week after I went back home.